Welcome to The Explainer, where we break down big ideas using the sources behind them. So today, we're going to talk about two absolute titans of science who saw absolutely no conflict between their work and their faith. You know, a lot of people today think of science and religion as being completely at odds, locked in this constant battle. But was it always like that? Well, according to the sources, for some of the greatest scientific minds in history, the answer was a huge, resounding no. Okay, let's dive into this. So where do we even begin? Well, let's start with a name that's pretty much synonymous with genius itself, Sir Isaac Newton. Newton's work literally laid the very foundations for classical mechanics. But here's the thing. His story isn't some fairy tale of effortless genius. It actually starts with some incredible hardship. I mean, get this. He was born so prematurely, so tiny, he almost didn't make it. His dad died before he was even born, and then his stepfather sent him away to live with grandparents who, well, they weren't exactly thrilled to have him. He even had a really tough time in his first few months of school. But his uncle saw that spark of potential, and with that support, Newton finally made it to Cambridge, and that's where his genius just exploded. And what a genius it was. I mean, the guy gave us the law of universal gravitation, the three laws of motion, he developed calculus, he completely changed how we see the universe. His work literally defined physics for centuries to come. So, where did Newton think all this incredible, perfect order came from? Was it just a cosmic accident? Not to him. For Newton, the beautiful, elegant precision of the universe was undeniable proof of a wise and powerful creator. His scientific discoveries didn't challenge his faith, they became the very bedrock of it. And in fact, and you've got to hear this, Newton actually dedicated more of his time to studying theology and the Bible than he ever did to physics or math. Seriously, he spent years on alchemy, wrote these deep, complex interpretations of biblical books like Daniel and Revelation, and even tried to use scripture to predict future events. Now, Newton wasn't alone in thinking this way. Let's shift gears and talk about another foundational figure, Robert Boyle, who found that same sense of divinity, but he found it in a totally different field, chemistry. Now, Robert Boyle's story is a little different. Unlike Newton, he was born into a very wealthy Irish family, and that wealth gave him access to an incredible education, where he even got the chance to meet the legendary, and by then, very old, Galileo Galilei himself. He was a natural leader. You know, at just 18 years old, he helped start this group that would eventually become the Royal Society, one of the most important scientific institutions in the world, which, by the way, is still going strong today. So what made Boyle the pioneer of modern chemistry? Well, he basically tossed out the old rulebook. He championed the experimental method. He insisted that science couldn't just be about old philosophies. It had to be built on a rock-solid foundation of precise observation and experiments that anyone could repeat. And just like Newton, Boyle's scientific passion was totally intertwined with his faith. For him, chemistry was a personal bridge to God. I mean, the story goes he would meditate on scripture for an entire hour before he even started his studies for the day, and after every single discovery, he would praise the Creator for letting him see another one of his amazing natural laws. Okay, so we've got these two absolute giants of science, Newton, the master of physics, Boyle, the father of chemistry. They're working in completely different worlds, so what's the one powerful idea that unites them? This right here, this slide just lays it out so perfectly. Think about it. Newton looked up at the grand cosmic dance of the planets and stars, and he concluded that this incredible system had to have a creator. Boyle, on the other hand, looked down at the intricate, lawful way that matter behaves, and he concluded it must have a lawgiver. They were looking in different directions, but they saw the exact same thing. So what this all boils down to is a concept the source calls creationist faith. For these pioneers, the whole point of studying nature wasn't to disprove religion. It was a powerful way to reveal the order, the perfection, and the wisdom of the Creator. Science and faith weren't just compatible. They were two sides of the same coin. And the legacy of Newton and Boyle really leaves us with this powerful question, doesn't it? In a world that so often wants to pit science against faith, their lives show us another way. Instead of driving a wedge between them, could it be that the act of scientific discovery, of uncovering the deep, elegant laws of our universe, can actually deepen our sense of wonder, of awe, and maybe even our belief?